Okay, we're gonna get started. Can you hear me, Angela? Welcome, Teresa. You guys hear me? Just let me know so I know. Hi. Great to see you again. Awesome. How are you guys tonight? I guess today, depending where you're at. I'm gonna actually start let me start my camera here so you guys can see me here. Hi. I don't know if you can see me. I'm April. It's nice to see you guys, and it's always good to see your instructor. And I wanted to turn my video on here just to say hi to everybody out there and in this class. And welcome. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Going through the refresher courses.
Yeah.
Graduated.
I'm like trying to see if I have anything in my teeth because I just ate spaghetti and I'm like worried I have something in my teeth. But well, great to have you in here again, and I'm sure I'll see some familiar names in here. Hopefully.
Oh yeah, we'll be passing the class this time.
Awesome. Well, great to see you guys. I'm April Biss, if you don't know me, and I'll be kind of giving you a quick intro tonight, and we'll start class here. So I just wanted to show my face here. I'm going to turn off the video so I don't use up too much memory here, but hello. And I'm probably not looking right at, I'm going to stop the recording here. I'm not looking right at the camera, so I'm kind of looking away from you guys. All right, well, welcome, DES114, Beginning Image Editing. This is a pretty cool class. I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun with this. I mean, you guys are going to be diving into Photoshop. What is not fun with that, right? So again, my name is April Biss. You can just call me April if you address me in email or through lecture or phone. Some of my work you can see on Behance. There's a link there. Definitely check out what I've been up to. Some things. I actually haven't updated that. I'm working on a few things currently that I need to update that site, but that's not all of my work. It's just some recent stuff. Just a little bit about me. I'm from Pittsburgh, PA. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in graphic design. I went to a private college called La Roche College in Pittsburgh. I grew up in Pittsburgh. However, I have moved all around. I've lived in Akron, Ohio for 6 years, and then I moved to Tampa, Florida for 7 years, and then I moved back to Pittsburgh. Okay, Teresa, still working on your portfolio. Yep, I think that'll be an endless thing. I think sometimes is you're always updating and revising and putting new work up. So you have to get used to that. I have about 18 years experience in the design industry. So I've worked for several advertising agencies in and around Pittsburgh, Akron, Ohio, and also Florida. I've worked for publication companies before as well. I've designed for magazines in Tampa, Florida, Naples, Florida. And just really cool stuff I've worked on, which is, I think it's really cool just to be able to give back to you guys my experience as, when I went through all of that too. I fell in love with teaching when I taught for 2 years on ground in Tampa, and I fell in love with teaching, and that's kind of what pushed me to get my master's. So I have a master's of art in graphic design at Savannah College of Art and Design, and I did that all online. So I like to say that because you guys are online students. So, I've kind of been there before, and I can relate to what you guys are going through to some degree. So I kind of understand the whole platform. You have a Chiweenie too? Aw. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I love Chihuahuas and Chiweenies. Actually, I should probably update this slide here because I don't have Bubba anymore. We had to put Bubba down last year, so that was my cat. She's so hyper. Oh, you have a Yorkie? Very cool. I like the small dogs. I'm just a small dog person, I guess. I don't know. All right, yeah, so my daughter is 3 years old. She is the light of my life, and I just love her to death. Her name's Amelia, and she's just, she's definitely a character. I'm trying to always teach her color theory and design terms, but I don't think she's getting it yet, so She does like to work in Illustrator and type her own name and do some designs that she can do, but you know, I'll be kind of keeping up with that with her. She will. All right, so our lectures are on Tuesday, and hopefully you guys are good with that. 3:30. I have such a weird schedule now. I'm not to be any too personal. I actually am going through divorce, and I have a custody schedule that's changing. So it's all good, but I just have to kind of work it through my schedule. And so we have to do, I have to kind of stick to weird times here. So 3:30 Mountain Time. If you're Eastern Time like me, we start at 5:30 for the lectures. So if you can't make it, just please listen to the recording. That'll be in the live session forum. Probably within the hour after I record it, it will be uploaded. So definitely check that out. I go over a lot of detail in the live lectures. I go over how to do each project. So it's kind of like the meat and potatoes of the class. We also have, you know, optional, actually these should be called not open labs. I'm sorry, I should probably change that wording. Multi-sessions, and they are Wednesday at 4 p.m. Mountain Time. You're not obligated to go, but if you have any questions or need extra help, that's the time to come in and get that extra help. All right, so some deadlines just to kind of be on the same page. You guys know already by now, hopefully, that a lot of the work needs, or all the work needs to be done every week by Saturday before midnight Mountain Standard Time. Discussions, you really need to get that in before the deadline. There's no grace period for discussions, so if you post your response or your initial post after the due date, you won't get credit for it. So make sure you're getting that in when it's due. And then your assignments, you have a week grace period, but it's a 20% deduction for the late grace period. So it's definitely taking away a big chunk of it. Canvas homepage. Let's take a look at the homepage here real quick before we dive into the details of this class so that we're all on the same page of where everything is. I've had students that still don't know where the live sessions are placed, so let's go over that. Here's your daily checkpoints, your Shark academic resources, live sessions. So this is where you're going to click in here. You can find anything that has to do with the live session, date, times, even broken down into all the time zones if you have questions about that. And then, this is obviously where you come in to do the live lecture if you're able to. And then you have down here your recorded sessions. So you'll notice in week 1, you're going to watch this pre-recorded session first. It's about 2 hours and 3 minutes. Watch that first. It's going to give you these bullet point objectives here. And then I will be placing in underneath this before, actually right here, I will be placing this actual recording here. So that's where you'll find it. And every week it's kind of pretty similar all the way down to week 4. So definitely check that out. I don't know. They're never in any other spot but there. So it should be very consistent and no confusion, hopefully. Okay, Teresa. Sorry, I was reading Teresa's message here. All right. Well, that doesn't sound good, but hopefully, do you have 2 classes this mod, Teresa? Okay. Well, good luck with that. It sounds like that's very painful. Let me know, let me know if you guys have any issues going on. I know life is life. It's hard sometimes. We all have stuff that comes up. I do, and I'm human, so I understand that. As long as you're, contacting me and getting me into the loop as soon as possible with any issues, problems, anything going on, that's how I can be more flexible with you and more understanding of what's going on. If you're reaching out to me weeks after the fact, I might not be as lenient because, why didn't you contact me when it was, first happening? So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Angela, you have 3 classes? I didn't think that was possible. Sheesh. They're not all design classes though, are they? Okay. Sometimes that could be a good thing. Sometimes that can be a bad thing. Depends on the classes. All right. Well, sometimes we need that extra, fire under our butts, that stress to push us further. So you might really excel at this mod, hopefully. Okay. There you go. So you got a little design class in there mixed in with that. Good. All right. Well, I'm sure you'll be fine. Course information can be found right next to live sessions, library, Student Success Center. If you're having any problems, or not problems, but if you want any help, you can definitely go there, as well as the Shark academic resources, reading and videos. Basically what it is, help desk if you're having issues with maybe the actual computer related software type issues, computer support, career preparation, about me, about the instructor, course contact list, and so on and so forth. So definitely check that out. Week 1, every time you go into a new week, make sure you're clicking on each week, the actual week name, because this kind of breaks it down into your objectives that we're going to be doing for this week. So this is what you should be walking away with. So for this week, you're going to utilize 4 techniques for making selections to modify parts of an image. You're going to discuss the key differences between raster and vector artwork, and you're going to identify and apply 3 of Photoshop's shape layers to produce images. Urgent note, if this is your first design course and you haven't already received your Adobe Creative Cloud account and downloaded it, you will need to contact your FPA immediately, your faculty program advisor. So, but welcome. Here's a little intro video here, and this is where you can actually, oh, I just clicked on this. Go to course media and all of your first week links here. And again, your course media, you can definitely, this is kind of cool. Your course media breaks it down into, here's your pre-recorded live session here. Tells you kind of what it's about, just like in that live session area. But it also gives you extra resources on how to select a part of an image. So you can watch that video. It's a little 5-minute video. And how to make a custom banner, another little 5-minute video. And it all kind of helps supplement kind of what you're learning in this course. So definitely check that out. Is there a textbook or ebook for this class? That's a good question. So what you're going to do is go to readings and videos, and you should have your required readings and videos in here. Let me go down. Chapter 1, yes. So you'll go into your playlist. So pretty much what your reading is through lynda.com. So they're videos. And they call them chapters just because that's kind of what they break them down into. So what you'll do is you'll just go through the portal. Let me go back down here. Sorry, I'm like scrolling a little bit too fast. Where did I see that? Oh, you'll go through the student access portal, and then you'll find the this title here for your chapters to access. So chapter 1, chapter 2, and so on and so forth will be kind of listed in there. Week 1 media, let me see here, content covered. So what I would do, because there's 6 chapters, yeah, you're welcome. What I would do is maybe, let's see, 1, 2, 3, well, actually there's 4 chapters. So I would do a chapter a week. So I would do week 1 would be chapter 1, week 2 would be chapter 2, week 3 would be chapter 3, and then week 4 would be chapter 6. Okay. All right. And, you could go faster or slower, completely up to you guys and your pace. Discussions, just make sure you're, I didn't quite see, maybe I didn't look in earlier today, but maybe there is some intros in there now, but make sure you're putting some intros in there. Actually, I skipped this. Did I skip it? I don't think you can. Let me go to modules here. If you can't find it, go to modules. You'll see the intro under week 1 here. Introduce yourself. So read through this and go ahead, and I already kind of started it. Let me see if anybody else, somebody else responded to my post. you know, you can upload an image of you or your fur babies or your kids. It's always nice to see, you know, who you guys are. We're all online students, so it's really hard to get that face-to-face contact, and it's just nice to see that. So that's where you guys can all like really have that platform to do so. Okay, so your discussion this week, let's go over that real quick. Let's take a look here. We're going to be talking about raster and vector, and I'm going to be kind of going over this too as we go forward. Go ahead and read through the career relevancy, the background information. I'm not going to sit here and read it for word for you guys. I think that's good for you guys to sit and actually read over. But I will go over the prompt here. We'll kind of read through this. Okay, so for your discussion this week, imagine you are designing a branding campaign for a client that will involve a variety of different deliverables. A large billboard, small postcards, a magazine ad, and web banner ads. Each of the deliverables will have the company's logo on it, but the imagery for the campaign will encompass both photographic elements and illustration elements similar to Apple's advertising campaign for the iPod circa 2003 to 2005. Learn more about this ad campaign here, so you can click on that link if you're unfamiliar with it. Research the key differences between vector and raster artwork, and based on your research, describe those key differences. Be sure to cite your sources that you're getting those facts from. Look for an example of each of the deliverables described above and link or embed an image and answer the following questions. So which elements of the deliverables should be created using vector artwork and why? Which elements of the deliverables should be created using raster artwork and why? And then for your citation, you might use articles that show an example of the differences between raster images and vector images. That's always good. You can also find articles from experts that suggest how audiences react to different types of imagery. So don't forget, your initial and reply posts should work to develop a group understanding of this topic. You can challenge each other, build on each other, always be respectful, but discuss this and figure it out together. Here is instructions if needed to how to upload and embed images to the discussion. And then make sure if you do embed images that are not your own, that you're taking, you know, outside external resource, make sure you reference that as well. And they're APA resourced images that you can list that underneath your post. Any questions about that? And actually there's some examples down here for this particular discussion that you can click and take a look at. And I know, you know, this is something you guys will have to read thoroughly into before answering, but do you have any questions in regards to what is asked for within the discussions, or is it pretty straightforward? We're going to go over kind of the differences between raster and vector in a second here. Good to go? All right, I'm going to take that as good to go. All right. All right, so let me go back to our slides here. We kind of went over the discussion a little early, so we kind of got that off of the checklist here, which is good because we have a lot of stuff to cover. All right, just in the chat area, let me know how you are in regards to your experience using Photoshop. Are you a newbie or a pro? So between the number 1 and number 5, 1 being newbie, 5 being a pro, what number would you describe yourself as being? And be honest. Go ahead and type that in there. I know we only have a few people in here, but that's okay. Not sure, and that's okay. If you're not sure, it's okay. At least you're being honest, and I understand that. And that's fine if it's, you know, lower than you think. You know, 2 is fine. That's why you're here. You guys are in a fundamental class, and that's why you're here. So that's great. So it kind of allows me to know where you guys are in terms of how much experience you have. Uh-oh. Because I do selfies daily with filters and such. There you go. Yeah, I think you can get Photoshop app as well on your phone. So sometimes we learn that way too. Okay, great. You do photos, work with photos all the time. Good. All right, so basically, if you're familiar with the Adobe Creative Suite package, like kind of know how to navigate through InDesign and kind of know how to navigate through Illustrator, you're not going to have any issues with Photoshop because they're pretty much all, I don't want to say the same, but they're pretty much, the interfaces are pretty similar. It's just kind of knowing how to use certain tools and, saving out certain files is kind of, and certain techniques, I guess, in Photoshop would be something that you would need to learn more about, possibly. All right, so knowing that, that's good. Let's talk about vector versus raster. You guys are going to be discussing this. And why are we talking about this? Why do you guys think we are discussing this? Why is this a big deal? Why, as a designer, do you need to know the differences between a vector and a raster image or program? And maybe you don't know. Maybe you're like, hey, I don't understand what they are. I don't know. And that's completely fine too. You don't know 100%. Okay, that's fine. And I completely respect that and understand. And that's kind of why we're going over it. Angela, you said because these images have different delivery and appearances. Yes. So basically, we're going to be working in Photoshop. And do you guys know what Photoshop is? Is it raster or a vector program? Okay, Teresa, yes, you're right about that. I just have to, yep, you're right, Angela, raster. So it's a raster-based program, right? Do you know what raster means? So, and I know you guys are probably typing. Okay, so raster means that it's pixel dependent. Okay, so that means it's dependent upon pixels, and you guys know what that, yeah, you got it backwards, that's okay. It's dependent on pixels to create an image. So there's the little squares that make up an image, the dots per inch, pixels per inch. That's what comprises the images in Photoshop. So you can go into any image and change those little pixels for color changes, for manipulation of the image. So it kind of it's good for photo manipulation. So vector, do you guys know what a vector-based program would be? So a vector-based program would be, yeah, it would be Illustrator. It would be a program like Illustrator. Yep. Exactly. Yep. So in Illustrator, it is a vector-based program. So it is not pixel dependent. It's actually based on lines and mathematical equations that kind of come up with lines. So it will never have to depend on pixels to comprise of the images within it. So that's why there's an issue whenever if you do a logo in a raster-based program such as Photoshop, because if you're saving it out at a certain size and then you're asked to use that same file for a larger purpose, when it's blown up, you're going to have issues. You're going to see those pixels. But in contrast, if you're in Illustrator, a vector-based program, because it is comprised of lines and not pixels, it will always be very sharp. It will never get pixelated. You could blow it up past the billboard size and you'll never have issues with any pixelation. So that's why it's a good habit and always kind of the first go-to when you design anything that's related to logos, sometimes icons, depending on what you're working on. Yeah. So it's good to know the differences because I've had a lot of people who go straight to Photoshop for everything. I've seen that before. So you really have to be understanding of why you use certain programs for what purposes. All right, so again, vector-based images are similar to geometric diagrams and use points and lines. And the word vector is a synonym for line, actually. So that's like an Illustrator, kind of a illustrated logo there. And they're showing you it's based on lines. The image quality in vector-based graphics does not depend on dots per inch of the output device. So on the very top, A is showing you a pixel, a non-pixel raster image, and the one on the bottom shows you it kind of comprised of pixels. So the lines, dots, and functions used in the development of vector-based graphics are called primitives, okay? So that flower on the right there is actually, it's a vector graphic. And then when you go to outlines on the left there, those are called primitives. You can do like an outline and see what it looks like whenever you're in Illustrator. And you can see what that illustration is made up of, the lines. They're not, Illustrator isn't just the only program that is a vector-based program. There are other ones too, such as Freehand, CorelDRAW, Flash, Inkscape, Fireworks. So we talk about Illustrator a lot, and it's a vector-based program. Sometimes we forget that there's other programs out there that are also vector-based. The pros and cons, and again, we talked about this. The pros, the saved file sizes are smaller when you're doing vectors. They're not as big. Conversion from vector to raster is easy. It's resolution independent, so you won't have any issues with it being pixelated. The cons of a vector graphic would be vector files do not support photographic imagery well and often can be problematic for cross-platform exchange. So if you're, have a photograph that you want to change, say color, tone, or whatever, it would definitely not support it. So that's why you would use, a program like Illustrator to do so. Here's some examples of some vector-based graphics, and some of them aren't just a logo. Some of them are very photorealistic illustrations. It almost looks like it could have been done in Photoshop. So there's just different types of illustrations, different styles and techniques that you can do in vector-based programs. Okay, on the flip side, and what we're going to be focusing on with Photoshop is raster-based images, and they're resolution dependent, as I said. So raster images are made of pixels. A pixel is a single point or the smallest single component in a display device. Little kitty there, that picture, they're zooming in right on the forehead of that cat, and you can see it's comprised, zoomed in, and then it's pulling out what's showing there. It's comprised of pixels. If you actually had like a loop of magnifying glass and looked at a photograph, say in a magazine, you can see those dots. Well, you can see the dots per inch. You can see probably not the pixels, but the dots that comprise the image. Each pixel is a tiny square with assigned color value. They are created using a grid of pixels to define the image. There are pros and cons. So the pros of raster files, they can handle the features of photographs very well as a general rule. Raster can handle other effects very well and much easier. The cons would be resolution dependent, so you might have issues if you blow it up and it's small and you obviously can see pixels. Also, the files can be very large if there's a large amount of detail and pixels in an image. And raster conversion to vector is much more difficult, so that's kind of a bad thing in regards to that. Here are just some examples. The photograph I took on the left is a raster-based image. In the middle there, you can still have illustrated type work, photorealistic. That is a raster image as well. And then on the right there is a web page that I actually designed, and that is considered raster-based as well. And again, just kind of a very nice visual here just to show you the differences, vector versus raster, close-up comparisons of each. And sometimes you can't tell, like that bottom example with the red circle, it could be a very high resolution circle in Photoshop on the raster side. As soon as you zoom in on it really tightly, you'll see the little jagged pixel edges. If you were an Illustrator and you took that same circle and zoomed in on it just as tight, you're not going to see that. So it still can look sharp, but you might still see, obviously you'll see the pixels if you zoom in on it. All right, we kind of already discussed. Does anybody have any questions about what we just went over with that? No? Okay. So we went over discussion 1. You guys don't have any questions about that. We'll go forward into assignment 1. Let's go ahead and I think you guys are going to really like this assignment here. Let me go right into Canvas and we'll get started. So you have 2 assignment and assessment. Assignment 1, you're going to be doing a desktop wallpaper design. So you're going to, oh, somebody's typing here. Hold on. Yay, yeah, I think you guys will have fun with this. I think it's kind of a nice ease into the program. Is there another word for pixels as well? When it's on screen, like say you're working on screen in Photoshop, we call pixels. I don't think there's any other words for it, but whenever it's actually printed, so you go from pixels per inch when you're in Photoshop and you say you're sizing the canvas, you go pixels per inch, so it's either 72 on up, pixels per inch, but when it's actually printed, it's called dots per inch. Because the printer at that point is taking those pixels and converting it to dots per inch. So that's why kind of you hear that two terminologies there. So a bitmap is pretty similar to, yeah, it's the same thing in regards to a raster-based image, bitmap image. That's like pretty much the same terminology for a raster-based image. Yeah, good question. All right, here we go. So you're going to familiarize yourself with the tools of Photoshop within here, which is good because that's kind of what you need a good foundation for. Go ahead and read the background. I'm not going to read through that. Go ahead and read through the background, the shape layers, ellipse, rectangle, because you're going to be using all of these shapes for this particular assignment. I'm going to go right to the prompt here. So for this assignment, you will create your first Photoshop project, a desktop wallpaper design that utilizes Photoshop shape tools. This is your first project, so it is your chance to experiment with the tools and interact with the software. Feel free to create any design you like. And so there you go. I mean, that's pretty exciting. Assignment instructions, these are the specs. You're going to create a document that is 1024 pixels wide and 768 pixels tall. Don't accidentally make your document in inches or it will be too large. And I'll show you how to do that. Make sure the resolution is 72 pixels per inch. Save your document as a .psd, so a native Photoshop file, name it as such. Create a new layer and fill it with a background color using the paint bucket tool. I'll show you how to do that. Utilize at least 3 of the 4 shape layer tools, so the ellipse, rectangle, polygon, and custom shape to create an abstract composition. Have fun with this and explore additional tools such as the paintbrush, adjustment layers, and any other tool you may find to enhance your final abstract composition. Okay, so that's it. I mean, it seems like a lot, but it's not that much. Save your file when you're done. For your submission requirements, you're going to save it as such, PSD. Then you're going to do a file save as and choose JPEG with 100% quality and submit the JPEG for grading. Do not flatten your layers in your PSD file and retain in case the instructor needs to see how you built your image. So we'll go over all of this. But any questions before I go over any of that? Okay. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to open up Photoshop. For some reason, and I know you guys will probably, maybe you will notice, I actually have the 2017 version up here. And I did download the 2018, so I'm not sure why it's coming up here. I just noticed it when I started the lecture, so I'm going to have to figure that out. I did download the 2018 recently, but I'm just going to, I couldn't find it on my computer. I don't know if something happened. I know it's on my other computer. I'm not sure why it's not on here. So I think it's pretty similar. I don't think there's too many differences. There might be like some certain custom settings that might be different, but it should be pretty similar to what you guys are 2018, but I definitely have to check that out because I thought I had it on here. Yes.
I had a heck of a time getting my my Photoshop and all that stuff downloaded, the new one. And I went back to my my Launchpad, and I literally had to go and open 2018 from my Launchpad.
Oh, really? I went to my applications folder. That's where it should be, but it wasn't.
Yeah, that's where I thought it was, and I tried that one. It didn't work. So I went back to the Launchpad and opened it there.
So you went to actual Launchpad here.
Yeah, because Sean Childers she was having a hard time getting that fixed for me too, and you know, I didn't get a chance to let him know that that's how I got it to work finally.
Interesting. Okay, well, good to know. Yeah, I have it on my other smaller computer, but and I downloaded it for this one. I thought, but I guess I don't know. Maybe I don't know where the alias is, like you said. But that's fine. We'll just go with this, and I think it'll be fine for now. I don't think there'll be any issues.
Okay.
Great. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that for sure.
It took me a month to figure that out.
Okay, that's crazy when that happens. Okay, so go to File, New in Photoshop. And what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that you're not in inches, right? We have to change this. So we make sure we click on this little drop-down menu once this new document panel pops up, and we're going to change this to pixels. That's the first thing that you need to do. Second thing is the width. So in the specifications given to you, the width is 1024, and the height is 768. Resolution should be 72. That's pixels per inch. Everything else looks good. You don't have to change anything else. So RGB color is fine, 8 bits fine, transparent is fine. Orientation is fine, yeah, because we already have the width and the height. You don't have to change that. The width is already shown in your specs. The height is shown. I kind of typed in it as such. As long as you have the landscape, not the portrait, you're good. Yep. All right, so I want to show you something first before we get into anything, because I noticed something, and because this is the 2017 version, it might be in here, but I had a little problem on my other computer trying to find it, so I want to show you guys how you can find it if you're having the same issue. And that's the paint bucket tool. Uh-oh. Okay, mine's a little slow here, so give me a second. Okay, so this is Photoshop. This is your panel here, your artboard. So you see that, you know, this document is sized as such. The little squares there just mean that it's transparent. There's no color on it. The one thing that I wanted to see, let me see. Okay, yeah. On my version, under the gradient tool, I have the paint bucket tool. But that's because I'm in the 2017 version of Adobe CC. So if you have the 2018, you're going to notice that under the gradient tool, you may not have the paint bucket tool. You may not. If you don't, because I didn't, what you're going to do is go up to Edit and Toolbar. I know you can't see my menu bar, but go up to Edit, Toolbar. And whenever the Customize toolbar pops up, on the right-hand side, which you can't see here, you'll see that there's a paint bucket tool. And all you need to do is click and drag it over where the gradient tool is. See how the paint bucket tool is here? So you would just drag it over and put it right over here. Mine was on the right, so it wasn't showing in my menu options. So that's how you would do that. Okay? I wanted to go over that because I noticed that was something that was changed. I was like, did they do away with the paint bucket tool? It's kind of weird. All right, so let's go ahead and save this. Go File, Save As. All right, DES 104. assignment 1. April this, and we want to change the format to, see, you have to change yours too. She says she doesn't see it, to Photoshop. Make sure your layers is checked here. Just, I'm going to save mine to the desktop. So Photoshop format, layers is checked. This, you know, doesn't matter. You can uncheck that. It's fine. Just your color profile. Click OK. And you're ready to go. Okay, so you're going to create a new layer. Okay, Teresa, you're just going to go up to Edit then. Go to Toolbar. If you don't see the paint bucket tool, and you're going to, where the extra tools is, you're going to find the paint bucket there and just drag it over and drop it under the gradient tool area. Okay. It's grayed out. You should be able to click on it and drag it over into. Also, if it's still not giving you the right tools, okay, cancel that out, Teresa, and go up to the upper right-hand corner here on your window and click on that little like drop-down menu, I should say, like a little square there, and make sure that this isn't on Start, but on Essentials. That might be, and you could try Photography too, because I think Photography, the paint bucket tool is actually in there. Okay, try Essentials, see if that works. All right, let me know if it works. All right, in the meantime, what you're gonna do is just take the paint bucket tool, which should be under the gradient tool at this point, and choose the color that you want your background to be. You can go ahead and double click on your color picker. Choose a color that you like, and then just click right onto your artboard to dump in that color. Okay, good, you got it. And you can always change that. You can create a new layer, actually. I forgot to say that. You could probably create a new layer and put that color on it. And then the second layer, so let me do that again. Delete it, delete the layer. So if you see your layer, if you don't see your layer panel, just go up to Window and choose Layers. The layer panel is basically what it is. So whatever you put, you know, on each layer is what you're gonna see. And it kind of is kind of like papers on top of each other. So if I have something on top of this layer, you might not see what's underneath it. So you can create new layers by clicking on New Layers down below here. You guys can see that. There's, you can delete layers here, little trash can. So go ahead and create a new layer. And you can take your paint bucket tool, go ahead and dump in color there. Okay. So basically what we're gonna look at is the, it says utilize at least 3 of the 4 shape layer tools. The ellipse, rectangle, polygon, and custom shape to create an abstract composition. So if you go to your toolbar, toolbox here, your shapes are right under your selection, path selection tool. And it looks like a little rectangle. If you click and hold that down, you'll see all the different shapes in here. So you're gonna utilize 3 of these shapes, the polygonal, rectangle, custom shape, rounded, circle, ellipse. You're gonna select that shape, go up here on the very top part of your, when you select your shape, make sure that your presets above here on the very top upper left-hand corner, click on where it's, mine's on path, so I'm gonna click on, I'm gonna choose shape instead of path. And this will allow me to fill the shape with color. So now I can click on my artboard. I'm gonna hold the Shift key down first before I drag if I want a symmetrical circle, and then I'm gonna let go of my mouse selection and then the key to place it. when you create a shape like this and you're letting go of the shape, you can see a new layer is created in the layers panel. It's called Ellipse 1. And this is where you can actually double click and change the color if you want. So let's go ahead and change the color of this one. Oh no, let's see, like a blue, a darker blue. So if you double click, that's kind of where you can change the color. And you have the properties box, which if you don't see properties pop up right away, go up to window, choose properties. And this is where you can change the size, the detail, so you can change the color here as well. But you know, color swatches in here. You can change the outline, so the stroke, the point size of that outline. So let's give this a stroke. Make it real big, real thick, I should say, or less thick, real thick. And then, you know, a style, different styles if you wanted that. Okay, so now you have an ellipse shape. You click off of it. You have this ellipse shape that you can actually now kind of, you know, move around, play around with. You also can do really cool stuff with this. You can do adjustment layers on this, okay? So you wanted to kind of play around with it a little bit more. Go to your adjustments. If you don't have this up on your board, your artboard, go up to Window, choose Adjustments. And these are kind of cool because you can change different exposures, hue, saturation, color balance, white. You know, some of these are photo, and a lot of these you probably won't use, but there are some interesting, let's see, posterize, different things. Oh, you know what? I didn't click. Let me undo this. Undo this here. History. There we go. So this basically changes your overall document, colors, channel mixer. This is like all of the adjustments done to a photograph. I thought maybe I can invert it or something like that, do something cool, but that's like a color adjustment done to the whole thing. So there are also some really other neat things that you can do. Let me see here. I can show you how to do an adjustment layer. So an adjustment layer is something that you can do straight onto this circle that I just created and not anything else. And you can go back and edit it if you want, so it's not flattened. So with that selection of the ellipse 1, you can go up to layer on the menu bar. I know you can't see it, but it's layer. And new adjustment layer is what you'll want. You can even do a new layer style, but we'll just go here first, and then we'll kind of play around with that. Let's go to the brightness. There we go. So you could choose the brightness, contrast, and actually this does it to the whole thing. I'm gonna have to tie this into that layer in order to have it not do the whole entire layer. So I'd have to do a click, option, select for it to only do this layer here. I don't know if you just saw what I did there. So just option, click these two layers together, and that way you're not altering the background, you're just altering the image. So that's an adjustment layer. You can also do, let me delete that. You can delete this, by the way. Go back up to layer, layer style. You can give this really cool styling options like inner shadow or drop shadow. So let's go ahead and do that. And you'll notice when I did that, it creates another effects into that layer. So you can see it drop down and you can see the effects are ready to go. So with that being said, I have preview selected so I could see what's going on whenever I change this. But take a look at the circle as I'm changing this. And this is just kind of adjusting the size of the drop shadow, the distance of the drop shadow, the opacity of the drop shadow. So you can do some really cool stuff with this. And drop shadow is selected on the left-hand side here. You can do other things as well. So let's say I want an inner shadow as well. I can click on inner shadow, just check on that, and then I click right on that layer to adjust the presets. And I don't know if this is going to show. Let me see if I get 100%. There we go. So it's kind of cool. It's like a little ball. Gives it kind of like a symmetrical look to it. There's inner glow. There's satin color overlay. You do gradient overlay. All kinds of really cool things you can kind of play around with. And all of these, like say if you want to put a pattern on it, you can take the opacity down so you can have the color show through it. And you can do different patterns. If you click right onto the actual pattern area. When you're done, click OK. And that doesn't really, you know, you can always go in here and change it. If you want to redo something, just double click on the word effects and it brings up this panel again. And say if you didn't want any of that, you could just take it all off. So you can actually delete this, you can hide it, to see what's going on, the eyeballs for each of those effects. You can hide the whole thing if you want, you can delete the whole thing. So, you know, you really have these pretty cool options to play around with that might enhance, you know, your overall image. Now, if I wanted to maybe say, take this stroke off that I put on here, all I have to do is double click on that FX right on that layer. Oh, I'm sorry, that is not right. Double click on my properties. So here's my properties here, and I told you the wrong place. The property panel is where I change the stroke. If I wanted to take, say, the inner, or change the inner shadow, this is where I double click and actually change it. Okay. Let me change the background here real quick. It's giving me a headache with this color. Oops, select the right layer. Here we go. Can we use custom tools? Yes, so that's another thing. In your shape area, you can do the custom shape tool if you want, for sure. The custom shape tool is basically, it's based on what your, let's see here. I have this in my shapes. Let me bring it, shapes. Libraries here. And it's coming up, there we go. Okay, so your shape is based upon what's up here on the presets panel. So you click on the very top icon where it says shape, and you can change whatever shape that you want that's in here. Yours might be different than mine. So you can definitely, you know, play around with that. Let's say you want to do like an arrow or something like that. All you have to do is with the custom shape selected, you just go ahead and draw that out. You can change the color, double click on it. You can change the color. Say I want it to be more like this blue. I can click in there and change it to a different blue that's more cohesive to what I have going on. If you wanted to duplicate the same style that you put on the ball, like all these effects here, all you have to do is hold down the Option key, select the effects, and drag it up to this shape layer and let go. And it actually puts the same effects onto that particular element as well. If you wanted to make the shape larger, just go up to Edit, Transform, and Scale, or smaller, I should say. Hold down the Shift key. This gives you a bounding box to get smaller and bigger. And then just click on Tab or your selection tool to apply. You can, let's see here. What else can we do? Okay, so then, you know, just like the rectangle tool, or just like the ellipse tool, rectangle tool is just like what it means. You can just draw out a rectangle, you know, kind of play around with that. And again, if you wanted to add the same effects onto that one or do different stuff, it's up to you. If you want to keep it consistent, that is the rectangle tool. You have the rounded rectangle tool. Has a nice little rounded shape to it on the edges there. And then polygonal tool. Okay. And then the line tool you can play around with too. Just what it is, it's just a line. Hold down the shift key if you want a nice, you know, straight line that's not shifted in any way. All right, so any questions about that? So what you're gonna do, it looks like you don't. What you're gonna do is just come up with some really cool things. You know, you can let me see what, at least 3 shapes that I need to show on here. Let me get rid of these. And I'll show just all of those except for the round and rectangle one. You know, orient these in a way that you think is kind of interesting. And it could just be, you know, wallpaper is basically a pattern. So what you could do is you could, you know, copy these to make a pattern in itself too. Try different things. It's kind of cool. I'm just doing like an alt drag down and copying that same layer. And this is my circle one, so let me copy that one. I'm just dragging it over to the new document, making a new one here. Duplicate, I should say. If you have snap to guides on, it's nice because it kind of automatically, intuitively tells you if it's aligned. I'll take my rectangle and copy it a couple times here. So, you know, come up with some kind of cool pattern that looks pretty neat. I think that's kind of a neat thing, and when you're looking at interesting wallpaper designs, you have some type of pattern that you're looking at that's repetitive. You can even get up closer and just kind of copy another one. You can even play around with the layer filters. So the layer filters, let's take a look at this. So I'm going to do the bottom rectangle on the top. Yeah, you could do a blended background. Yep. You can change your, like, let's say she was just saying a blended background. Let's do a new layer and put it at the bottom. And let's make this layer have some texture in it. It has to be at the very bottom, like below your very first color. And let's fill it with a texture. So I'm going to do let me see if I have my library of, I have styles here. I have my textures under my, give me 1 second. Yeah, let me hide this so I can see what I'm doing. All right. Let me fill this with a straight color first. All right, and then I can kind of give it different textures. In the styles piano box, there should be another box here that I'm trying, or another preset. And I think it's under, yeah, styles. And there's also another one that I wanted to show you, and I can't. I'm like in Illustrator mode for some reason because I just last taught that class. So I'm like, I know where it is in Illustrator. Okay, let me see here. Libraries. You can place, you know, anything basically that you want to place in here. You can even do, if you have an image that you want to put in the back and kind of manipulate as well. But, you know, if you wanted to do a texture too, which is kind of nice, you could do something as simple as that and then kind of play around with it. It's kind of cool. if it's like pretty simple. All right, we'll just stick with this. And then what I'll show you is when I click on the black top layer, you can tell that it's over top of this layer that I just did. You can't see through it because it's a solid black layer. But if I kind of do a screen or change the opacity of this particular layer, you can kind of see that texture coming through. And it depends on, like, you know, the amount that you want to show through. Maybe you don't want that much of it. Actually, you know what? Let me take off these effects because that's what's making it look weird. Throw a style in there. Oh, it already has a style in there, so we're good. But you can choose any of, you know, any of these styles, or, you know, do your own thing as well. You might just like it simple. It's kind of cool. You just finished Illustrator, yeah. And this is kind of, I'm showing you a little bit in a weird way with different shapes, so it looks kind of weird as I have it set up. So try to make it look, you know, really slick, you know, something visually interesting. All right. The next part of this is have fun, explore with the paintbrush. You can use paintbrush adjustment layers. I just showed you that. Paintbrush is pretty cool. You can really kind of do some interesting stuff with that. Mine's real big right now, so if I hit down the indent key, that's my shortcut key, I can make it smaller, or I can go up here on the presets and adjust my size here. And basically, we're going to do a new layer and have it way on top of it, all the other layers that I want to affect and paint on top of. So it really depends on the presets of your paintbrush. You know, if you want to do different types of paintbrushes, you could upload, you could download different types. So you have drops, different types of brushes, just like a real physical brush would be. You have different color modes that would, instead of it being 100% on top, you can do like overlays or screen and lighten. The flow is, you know, can be different. So here's this paintbrush. So you can do some really cool stuff, you know, with this paintbrush tool. That could also add texture. Let me put it at the bottom here. Add some interesting looks to your design. And I'm just using a flat black, so that's why it's not very, you know, it's, oops, change the opacity here. And kind of make it look a little bit more like texture. And then you can do an adjustment layer on this as well. Like go ahead and, you know, change the adjustment, you know, the colors or the overall look of that. Exposure, vibrance. This is basically for more of like a photograph though. So I would go more into maybe the layer style options. All right, so then you're gonna save it as a PSD file, which I already did, so I'm gonna go File, Save. And then the next thing that you need to do is save it as a JPEG at 100% quality. So go File, Save As when you're done. So you'll have the PSD file, save that in your folder, then you're gonna save as, and you're gonna save it as a JPEG. So go where it says Format, choose JPEG, click Save. And you wanna make sure that the quality is set to maximum, and then click OK. And that's the JPEG is what you're gonna submit for the assignment. Any questions? About that? Okay, Teresa, no problem. All right, I'm gonna take a short break here and then we'll go right into your assessment. If that's okay with you guys, I'll take a 5-minute break, go right into the assessment, and then we'll kind of wrap things up. Sound good? All right, see you guys in 5 minutes here. All right, can you guys hear me? You guys can hear me. All right. All right, so we discussed the assignment 1. Awesome. Thank you guys. So we discussed assignment 1. Let's go ahead and look at your assessment 1 and see if you have any questions about that. All right, so this one is actually going to be very interesting as well. You guys will have a lot of fun with this assignment. You are going to be playing around with the selection tools in Photoshop. And the selection tools allow you to select certain elements of a photograph or an illustration so that you can alter the appearance of it, the color. So I'm going to read through here. So making effective selections and using tools in different layers are an essential part of using Photoshop professionally. Whether you're making a simple digital illustration or compositing multiple photo elements together, selections are the first step in almost all Photoshop design projects. Non-destructive editing means making changes to a project on separate layers so a project can be easily revised depending on the client's needs. You will want to revise in a way that never deletes pixels so you can rework the project as the client requests changes. So the background of this, you can definitely read through. This kind of gives you an idea of what the selection tools are. So the basic ones that we're going to be going over, the marquee tools. These tools create circular or rectangular selections. We'll take a look at those. The quick selection tool, kind of like the magic wand tool, but it's similar. It works similar to the magic wand tool, and how it helps you make a selection based on similarly colored pixels and lets you paint to refine the selection. The lasso tool, and I'll show you, it's kind of like the magnetic lasso tool, but the lasso tool is like a free form drawing tool. The pen tool also is kind of like the one in Illustrator where you're kind of creating these vector, yeah, not your vector, but your, I can't get that word, your points. And I'm drawing a blank here. So maybe if I read through this, it'll kind of come to me. The pen tool is ideal for selecting objects made of smooth curves and straight lines. It can be easily edited before it's converted to selection. So you have those points in which you can select and kind of edit. Anchor points, that's what I was trying to get to. Non-destructive editing is a way of working in Photoshop that means every change can be easily undone or revised. So this means multiple image elements will be separate from each other in the document in order to maximize efficiency when editing or revising. Making good selections and working non-destructive editing and working the non-destructive editing is what we are going to practice in this week's assignment. So for this assessment, you will color the provided image by altering the image utilizing non-destructive editing techniques. So you're going to download the file. This is the assessment instructions. You're going to download this. So go ahead and click on the assessment 1, download that, save it to your folder that you created for, where did this go here? I lost my download folder. I'll do that again. There we go. It's hiding behind my little window there. So you're going to save that to your folder or your desktop, wherever you want to save it first. And where did mine go? It's not, mine's so slow. Hold on, I'm getting the wheel of death here. There we go. So when it opens, I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me zoom out here. Let me share this. This is what it's going to look like. So it's going to open up in preview. And you're going to go up to File, Save, Export. And you're going to export it from preview. So File, Save As, to desktop. Okay, so you're going to just save it as a JPEG. And then what we're going to do is, hold on, somebody's chatting up here. We're going to go right into Photoshop. Somebody has a question. Hold on. Coloring, yep. Let me close out of this. You're going to go File, Open in Photoshop, and you're going to open that JPEG up that you saved. All right, so this is what it will look like. Now, at this point, you have to save it as a PSD file, or else you won't be able to do, too much to it. So go File, Save As, and you're gonna, in the drop-down menu, just choose Photoshop, and then go ahead and rename this, your assessment 1, first and last name. Everything else looks good. You can double click on the layer background so you can unlock it. So this is kind of what it looks like. All right, so then what you're gonna do, let me go back to the instructions because I kind of went ahead of myself here. So we did this, open up File in Photoshop, go to File, Save As, save it as the PSD, unlock the background layer and change the image blending mode to multiply. So that's what we gotta do next. You're going to make a new layer underneath that image. And then you're going to isolate areas of the illustration using the selection tools we discussed, which we'll be discussing here in a second. Use the paint bucket tool to colorize the image on layers underneath the line art layer. Use at least 4 different selection techniques. Use at least 4 different colors in making your coloring clean and interesting. All right, so let's go back and we'll do that step by step here. All right, so now I have to I'm going to create a new layer underneath this first. Just drag and drop it down below. So that's what they said to do. Unlock the first layer, and I'm going to go up to where it says normal, and I'm going to do the drop down menu. I'm going to choose multiply. So now what we're going to do is we're going to just isolate the areas of the illustration using the selection tools. And the selection tools are the ones that are discussed in there. So the marquee tools, the quick selection tool, lasso tool, and pen tool. All right, so let's take a look at those. All right, so your selection tools are pretty much all in a line here. So you have your marquee tools, and these are pretty basic shapes. So you have the rectangular marquee tool, good for big spaced areas. But what's not good about them is you can't really customize. It's, if you have an organic type image and you want to go around corners, you can't really use that. But it's good for filling in like big blocks of space or changing big blocks of space. The rectangle marquee tool, and I'm going to draw out what it looks like. I'm just going to click out on my artboard here and just do whatever size I want. You see these little marching ants, and that's just telling me, we call those marching ants, that's the selection that I made. So anything that I do that's, now at this point with color or maybe deletion of this, it will take away from that selection. So I just hit delete and you'll see what happened there. If I were to just want to color this space and I have this selected, I can just take my paint bucket and dump it in there like that. Okay. If you want to anytime you want to undo the selection, just hit tab or click outside of it. Same thing with the circle, elliptical marquee tool is the same thing, only a circle. The same thing goes for this as well. You can do some really neat things with this. Let's fill it with a color first, and then I'm going to show you something here. Let's say we wanted to color this part, and then maybe we wanted to do some color filters or exposure. I don't know. Let me see here. Let's create a selective color. You can do different gradients, different kind of things like that. We'd have to redo this to actually make it look like a gradient. But there's, you know, different things that you can do this, just like I showed you in your wallpaper design, is kind of what you can do with that selection. Now, what I just did here is showing you that I actually placed it right on top of this original layer. So that is a destructive layer that I just did, okay? If you wanted to do a non-destructive layer, we have to do different layers, a new adjustment layer or some type of layer mask, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so that is the elliptical marquee tool, the single row is basically what it is. Single row is what you're, oh, this is kind of weird. Let's see if I'm dragging this wrong here. It looks very skinny out now. Let me do the other one here. Oh, interesting. All right, let me fill it with something and see what the heck. Looks like it's just this thin. Should be presets that you can change here. Let me try to find it. Oh, it just says new presets. Reset tool. Huh, okay, that's weird. Usually you can kind of reset that. I don't really use this tool that often, so it's kind of like a, you know, every time if I do use it, it's not like a line, a thin line, it's actually an actual rectangle. So my presets must be off somewhere here, and I can't reset my presets for some reason. Oh, maybe it's because I have, oh no, these are brushes. This shouldn't have anything to do with it. Huh, interesting. All right, I'd have to look into that. I'm not quite sure why it's doing that. You know, typically you have a size dimension that you're allowed to like fluctuate with that, but for some reason it's just giving you the lines. But anyway, yours might be a little different. I'll have to look into why that's doing that. Those are your basic marquee tools, selection tools. Then you have your lasso tools right underneath that, which is kind of a funny name. So the lasso tool is basically what it is. You kind of just use that lasso tool to lasso an area. Let me zoom in here. Like say if I use this lasso tool to do these circles here, I would click and just kind of drag my selection, my cursor or my mouse over the shape that I want to change the color of. So I get all the way around, and then it makes a selection. So it's a more organic way of changing changing the part of an image here. So then I could take my paint bucket tool and fill it in with that color. So it's pretty neat. So that's the lasso tool. That's just a very organic way. It's almost like a pen tool, you know, where you're tracing it around based on your, you know, where your hand is going, and that's on the actual artboard. Okay, so that is that. And then if you go to the Polygono lasso tool, basically that's what it is. It's kind of like you want to click. It's almost like the pen tool. You want to click first to get the line set, and you have very sharp lines that you're clicking around. Instead of it being more organic, it's more of like straight lines that you're dealing with. You go all the way around to close it, and the same thing here. You're going to change the color. So this tool would be more better for like maybe not this shape, but maybe more for straight shapes. You know, you have more solid straight lines. So maybe, you know, for instance, this leaf here. Might be something that you might want to use that on. I'm just clicking at each section here. And then you just fill it in with that color. Okay. That's the polygonal lasso tool. The magnetic lasso tool is kind of cool because it allows you to magnetically, almost like magnetically traces for you based on the pixel that you selected. So because I clicked on this black pixel line, as long as I'm clicking one time and I'm not even holding down my click, my selection, I'm just kind of traveling my mouse over the line that I want to trace, and it's kind of sticking to my selection. And if it goes off path, you can hit the delete key and go back and click on that area to re-guide it. So click back, click back. It's kind of cool. Kind of a neat way, and this is kind of a neat tool to use on photographs. You get that whole selection in there. Oops. So you kind of pick and choose which one you want to, which color that you want in each of these. That's kind of neat. Okay, so that's the magnetic lasso tool. It's pretty cool. I didn't do it very good. You can kind of see the white gaps there, so I'd have to zoom in. You know, zooming in is okay. Zooming in as much as you can so you can see is okay. So definitely do that. Okay. What else do we have here? Let's see. So those are your lasso tools. Then you have your quick selection tool and your magic wand tool. And those are pretty much, you know, you're clicking one time on a pixel and it kind of selects all the pixels around it of that same range. So let's say click on this heart here. In the white part, it's selecting the pixels that kind of are the same pixel information that's around it. If you can, you know, if you're at the point, because it didn't actually pick out all the pixels there, you can hold down the shift key as you're holding that down to get more of the shape. And you can actually change the presets up here as well, so that you can alter, say, the hardness of the actual brush and the selection, just like the magic wand tool. The tolerance is down to 20. So the lower the tolerance, the more pixels of that range will be selected, the higher it will be very picky on what, you know, the range of color will be. So magic wand tool, let me show you how to do that. Let me zoom out here. And I'm just gonna do the magic wand tool for this middle section here. Click one time, and then I'm gonna hit delete. And it deletes that whole middle section that's that had the white selection in it. Okay, let me see if I hit upon all the tools that we discussed. The pen tool, this is the pen tool is very similar to, it's exactly like the one that you use in Illustrator if you used it before. The pen tool's right here. P on your keyboard goes right to it. So the pen tool is something that you'll need to play around with as well. Just take the pen tool, zoom in, and just like with some of the other tools that you kind of had a guide, this kind of works on as you click. And you can kind of click and drag if you want a more organic shape. And those Bezier curves will come out that you can alter. Just like in Illustrator, you can go back and edit it with your direct selection tool, which is actually right under your type tool, so your white arrow. You can actually click on this and change, like say if I wanted to change something in here, I could play around with these little anchor points. Now, you can fill that in once you're done. Click off of it. This goes off a path, so when you're working with your pen tool, you want to make sure that your work path, if you want to go back and edit it, you'll see the work path there. You can double click on it, or I'm sorry, not double click on it, but you can go down on, let me pull this out so I can see. You can actually choose load path as selection, make work path from selection, stroke path, and brush. So if you wanted to make it a selection, you can actually choose the layer, the work path layer, and then have the selection chosen here so that you can do different things to it if you wanted to change anything within it as well. If you want to kind of deselect, that's how you would do as well. Uh-oh. What are you lost about so far? I think that's pretty much, let me see here. Pen tools.
Is there anything for repetition?
What's that?
Is there anything to create repetition in coloring?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Like if I want to set a certain image that's in multiple locations the same color, how would I do that?
Oh, okay. So that's actually a really good question. So what you could do, oh, let me zoom in so you can see. Say if you knew you wanted all of these, say you knew you wanted all of these to be green, like this color, and you wanted to do it quickly. I think that's kind of what you're asking. Where's my eyedropper tool here? Let me select this color so I have it in my thing. So what I would do is I would use, you could use any of the selection tools, but what you would need to do is once you select that, so you select this area, and I'm using the Magic Wand tool for this, and I want to do this area, the same color in this area, you're going to hold the Shift key down, and then you're going to select the next area, hold the Shift key down, and choose this next area. That way, and then I'm going to take the paint bucket and just dump in the color. You can do it very quickly and all together. And that would, you know, that would be the easiest way. Does that make sense? Is that answering your question? Okay. Yeah. Good question, because I would have forgot to show you guys that, so that's good. I'm trying to figure out here. Give me 1 second. Okay, we're not gonna get into that. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna go through. I mean, it's a lot of. I mean, this is definitely gonna take you guys a little bit of time. Might be very Zen-like, you know, like those coloring books. But use all those different types of tools based on the shape that you're kind of tracing. What you think is, you know, kind of play around with it, experiment with it. If you want it to go faster than, you know, how it's going, again, just hold down that Shift key as you're selecting each element. I mean, I can select a whole bunch of these elements and at one point and then fill it with a color if I wanted to. Now I'd have to go throughout and kind of dump this color in there, but let's see if this is even actually doing it. Hold on. No, it's not gonna let me. Must be too many selections going on here. And you don't have to dump the same color in every single selection that you have. You can kind of change it as you're working on it. Change the color and then dump in a color. Okay, so that's kind of an easy way to do it. All right, so yeah, that'll take a little bit of time getting through all that, but I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be kind of an interesting way to learn the tools, the marquee tools, the quick selection tool, the lasso tools, and the pen tools that we discussed. When you're done, you're gonna save it, download the file, open file, I'm reading through here, unlock the layer file, multiply, make a new layer underneath the image. Okay, so then you're gonna save it as a PSD file, and then you're going to go to, let me go back so you can see the instructions that I'm actually reading. So you're gonna save your file as a PSD file, then you're gonna go to File, Export, Save for Web, and save the file as a JPEG at maximum quality. It will automatically be renamed or be automatically named the JPEG's file format. Then you're going to submit the JPEG for grading. You're going to retain the PSD file if I need you to change something. So let's go back and look at that. So when you're done, go to File, Save As, You already saved it as a PSD file. That's good. Make sure that's saved as, then go File, Save As again. And this time do, oh, we can do, let's see here. Yeah, we're going to do that. We're just going to save it as a JPEG here. Looks good. Maximum quality looks good. Click OK. There you go. And that JPEG you'll submit, the PSD file you'll kind of keep on your own. I know I kind of went a little fast, but you know, it's what the nice thing with the lectures. You can always go back, listen to the recording again. And once you kind of get used to like the tools, I think you'll be okay. You just kind of get the gist of everything. You know, and have fun with it. Okay, adding colors is not working. What do you mean by that? I don't know what you mean by that. You mean the paint bucket? Okay, you have to have the actual selection first and then go over right over that selection. Because if you don't have the selection and you don't dump it right over it, it's probably going to give you a problem. So select it and then take the paint bucket tool and click right over top. And as long as you have a color on the foreground here in your toolbox, color needs to be on the top, you're good. You should be good. Make sure you're on the top layer, which is the original layer. Check, you know, double check that.
Are we adding shapes to this assignment too?
No. You're just kind of altering the image based on your selections. Any other questions? Okay. You guys, I mean, Teresa, are you okay? A little quiet. Not really. Uh-oh. Do you want to share your screen to see what's going on, or? Okay, let me, go ahead and you can share your screen. You want to turn your mic on? I don't know if you have your mic muted. I might have it muted.
Okay.
All right, so I think I know your problem. Are you working on this layer?
Uh-huh.
You're in a JPEG layer. You have to save this as a PSD file first before you do anything. So go up and File, Save As, PSD.
That's what I did wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. Photoshop. Yeah. So now you should have layers that you can unlock the layer and then create the second layer to have at the bottom. Yeah.
What did I do?
So what I would do is just open up the original again so you don't have all that, what you just did to that one. So you have the fresh one opened.
PSD. Open. Okay, so I'm using the quick select, I think. Yeah, quick selection. And I was trying to do, hey, I did it again. Am I in the same one? And I have to select the layer, right?
So did you, I would go and now you can take the paint bucket tool and fill in whatever the selection that you just did. So go right over that.
See, it's not working.
I would start with the new JPEG and then save as, because I think you might have done something before to the second layer. You don't even have that switch to multiply. Go up and see where it says normal. You want to change that to multiply. Okay, now try it again. I don't know if it's probably not going to work, but we'll see.
No.
Okay, deselect that. And just try using, just click tab, or tab. Oh, click tab or hit tab again. It must be a different shortcut for yours. Okay, see where it has, go up to where your selection tool is. See the marquee selection tool in your toolbar? Click on that real quick.
Deselect.
There you go. All right, click on that tool that you just have selected, but hold down that click and try selecting just the magic wand tool. I just want to see something real quick. And then just try one little area, select one little area in there, and then use the paint bucket tool and see. I just want to see if it was the selection that actually was the problem. Okay. So I think what's going on is your layer, like there's a layer that you have going on to the right there that you need to delete. And it might be below that layer. Pull that layer panel down so we can see what layers you have in there.
This one?
No, pull the bottom down so we can see if there's another layer at the bottom.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, delete that top one. That's what's going on. Delete that.
Delete layer.
And then what you're going to do is you're going to create a new layer and just pull it on the bottom of that layer 0. Okay, and then go back up to layer 0 and try to do it again. Select. See, you have, you're going to have to restart. Yeah, you're going to have to restart this again because you have some selections that are deleted out.
Yeah,
so what I mean by that is you're going to have to open up the original JPEG, save it out as a PSD file, and do exactly what we just did and try this again because you can see there's selections up there that are missing. See the leaves there?
Ones I picked from before.
But just try in that little circle it's selected now, just try to dump that color in there.
Oh, some pattern.
Yeah, I would just try to
Yeah, I did it.
there you go. Yeah.
What do you call it?
The foreground was background up there. I didn't notice that, yeah.
Yeah, I just noticed that. Didn't look like your screen.
Right. All right. Yeah, so I would start over and just, because you'll have some of those missing pieces there.
Okay.
And just make sure you kind of go step by step.
I know what to do now.
Awesome. Good.
All right, thank you.
And don't freak out. If you need extra help, I'm going to be here tomorrow at the same time. So if you need extra help, come on in and
I will.
help you out.
It took me after the first week, I was kind of like on Illustrator, but then toward the end, I was just like, I prefer Illustrator over anything right now.
Right. Well, I think it's when you're working in it, you prefer whatever you're working in because you're getting used to it,
Yeah.
So just kind of play around with it and experiment. If you have any questions, I'll be, like I said, tomorrow we'll be here, or I'll be here. So you can bring in whatever and we can take a look at it.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to kind of wrap it up here, guys. I think I explained a lot tonight, and I don't want to overdo it and give you too much information. So hopefully we're all clear on everything. If not, like I said, I'll be here tomorrow for the multi-session. This is not an open lab. It should say multi-session. So thank you, guys. And we'll see you maybe tomorrow. And if not, I'll see you on the boards.
We may be at the hospital tomorrow.
Oh, no.
Yeah, my daughter's about to give birth.
Aw, congrats.
She was
awesome.
come out.
She's like, why are you talking about me?
She's in nesting mode right now. She's cleaning the floor.
Aw. Well, that's exciting. Good luck. All right, guys. You guys have a wonderful evening, and I'll be talking to you guys soon.
Okay.
All right. Good night. Good luck.